Hi, friends. Welcome to Enlightened World Network. I'm Dr. Ruth Anderson here with Michele Landers. She is Enlightened World Network's very favorite numerologist, and today she is bringing us October. Michele, the new month forecast for October. What are we looking at this month?
Well, first of all, thank you, Ruth. I love EWN. It's has my heart and so many other people's heart. It's such a beautiful platform to share enlightening and uplifting messages. So I love this, and I thank you for allowing me to share in the wisdom, I think, of the numerology and a little bit about astrology. So let's get going. October. I cannot believe that it is already the month of October. So one of the first things I want to say as we head into the end of 2022, and we're, I think, racing towards 2023, I really have to quote this meme I found online, and it was just this: welcome to level 9 of Jumanji, because that's what it feels like. So I feel that things, meaning the energy of all things, are in fact speeding up and not slowing down. And it's kind of reaching a crescendo of sorts as the energy of this year is mixed in with and beginning to yield to the energy of the upcoming year. So we will definitely talk more about that aspect in the coming months, but I'll just say that I can't imagine that we won't experience major shifts in 2023 when the number for 2023 is 7, and the United States number will be 9. So just know that the tumultuous times that we've been experiencing worldwide, I guess, to quote another saying, we're not about to go gently into that good night. But there's a good side to all this, as there always is. So again, things are definitely speeding up. The world energy, as a reminder, I always tell people it's the energy of the 6, but as October rolls around, because we always add the number, the monthly number to the year number, 10 added to 6, 2022. So what do you arrive at? You arrive at 16, which is a karmic number. And that number has a lot to say on its own. So when you reduce the 16 to 1 digit, you arrive at 7, which also has a lot to say. So first, I'm going to talk a little bit about the 16. The number 16 is a karmic number. And when I see it in a chart, it speaks to a past life of ego when it is in its karmic state. Let me put it that way, because as a reminder, and I always like to sprinkle this through any numerological interpretation, there is always a challenge side to the number, and there's always the gift. So it's never all bad. It depends on what you're going to resonate to. And that's what the universe is speaking to us about. So again, the karmic 16, it's about past life of ego, selfishness, being aloof. So when it shows up in a chart, it does describe two sides of the same coin, again, as all numbers do. Excuse me. So when 16 is operating as a challenge, it means we have to overcome obstacles, trials, sometimes trials in the literal sense, unforeseen events. It can mean defeat. It can mean, again, a prior life of indiscretions and irresponsibility. So when we see that number, we can expect some of those things to manifest. And if we're operating, though, from ego and not the heart. So we might experience bullying, more protests, more pushing against things, more deceit and dishonesty. So the 7 keeps things hidden, for better or for worse. Things are definitely, as they have been for a while, operating behind the scenes. A lot of duplicity, a lot of deception. So it's either going to come out, more things are going to come out in the 7-month, or it's going to come out in the following month when we are in an 8-month, which really pushes things out. It's more outward. This coming month of October is definitely more inward and behind the scenes. So I'm going to show you the tarot card for 16. And I don't want anybody to freak out because they have no reason to freak out, because I'll explain it. So this is the 16. So, all right. So before everybody goes, oh my God. So I want to talk about the Tower card and its keywords, but I want to make an important point about it, but just hang in there and I'll explain. So what are the keywords for the Tower? It can be sudden change. It can be upheaval. It can be chaos. It could be revelation. It can be awakening. It also can be personal transformation. It can be fears associated with change, because, you know, most of us don't like change unless we initiate it. And it can be, you know, averting disaster if you are in tune or in alignment with the positive side. So again, you look at this tower and you go, geez, my God, it's a building and it's this, you know, perched precipitously upon a mountain, a rocky mountain. There's lightning bolts and people jumping out the windows, a lot of, and I don't mean to laugh about it. It's not funny, but there is another side to this. A lot of chaos and destruction. Because why? Because the tower's foundation was built on shaky ground. And that is a universal message for us right now. So it only took that one bolt of lightning to bring it all tumbling down. So that is the very extreme description of the tower. It also represents ambitions and goals made on false premises. So that's something else we're definitely going to hear more about. But the lightning also represents a sudden surge of energy and insight that leads to a breakthrough, or it leads to revelations. It enters via the top of that building and knocks off that crown, but it symbolizes energy flowing down from the universe through the crown chakra, if we're open to it. The tower, or the number 16, tells us expect the unexpected, expect change. It's here to tear things up and to create chaos, where the lightning bolt, where we can allow that lightning bolt of clarity and insight to cut through the lies and illusions that we've been telling ourselves or we've been listening to. So we will definitely hear about truth coming to light. So in some ways it can feel kind of like a heavy energy. And that energy, especially when it's under the 16 or the 7, it can throw us into confusion. We can feel a little disoriented. I'm sure a lot of people are having a lot of self-doubt. A lot of people are having questions like, what's our next move? What are we going to do? I think a lot of people are questioning everything. So what's really happening is we are awakening. We're coming to the realization of false ideas, false premises that we've been building our lives upon, lies, illusions, greed, things we thought we knew, things we thought we could rely on, seem to be crumbling. And, you know, that's in so many different sectors. We're questioning what is real and what's not, what we can rely on, and what and who we cannot trust. So here's the good side, the flip side of the tower. When we're in tune with our higher self, and I should also say the number 16, which is composed of a 1 and a 6, when we're in tune with our higher self and we're in tune with the universe, the tower can represent revelation, awakening. It doesn't have to all fall apart. It means massive transformation in a good way if we don't fight against it. Because we all know the saying, what we resist persists. We have the opportunity to break free of limiting beliefs, limiting behaviors. When we reach for that higher vibration of the 16, it means healing. It means analyzing, it means study, it means research. It's the spiritual scientist, so to speak. And we're able to combine the mind, the spirit, and the heart. And when we're working with that in a positive way, it's we are responsible, we're interested in human nature and healing and helping, and that energy can definitely enhance our psychic experiences. And all of this is going to happen if we're in tune. What's also going to happen again, are things are going to come to light, they're going to come to the surface. One of the most important things is I want to encourage people not to be in fear and then try to tone down that anxiety. And I'm also going to talk about ways we can do that. So when we add the 1 plus the 6 together, we get the number 7. And here is the tarot card for the 7. It's a Chariot. And the Chariot, there's a number of things that the Chariot can mean. One of the things it can mean is addiction. So what are we addicted to? And a lot of people are addicted to the news, which I would suggest changing the channel. But the 7 also means victory. It's the chariot bringing us to a victorious conclusion. But that is really, really up to us. So the number 7 again is the deep thinker and the analyzer. It is curiosity. It's the spiritual seeker. So what choice do we have amidst all of this chaos? First, to surrender to what is. We have to stop fighting against what's happening. The energy of the 7 encourages us to really buckle down and get focused on the lessons about life's deeper inner workings. And this frequency also encourages people, and I think we're going to see more of this for sure, people's curiosity about life and about death and about consciousness. So I do think there's going to be a surge in more people seeking out places like Enlightened World Network to be in tune with a higher vibration, because we know the other things aren't working. And certainly drowning your troubles or trying to escape your problems, not going to work. It's never worked in the past. But when we tune in to our higher self, and again, places like Enlightened World Network, doing yoga, Reiki, meditation, whatever it is, it's going to raise our vibration, and we're going to be in tune with the numbers for the month. So we have to take more time to do these things. I will tell you that the 7 is also spending time alone. So when we do that, we pull into our inner selves, we contemplate, meditate, yoga, and pray. Enjoy your own company. travel to or travel on water. Water is so healing. Spend quiet time by the ocean or any body of water, in the mountains, streams if possible. And if you can't do that, that's okay. Get yourself a water fountain. It doesn't have to be something really big. It could be something small. And have a place, have a special place in your home where you can put flowers or stones or photos of spiritual masters or other photos that make you smile, makes you happy. Make it a place to meditate, to pray, to relax, do deep breathing, study, read, write, journal your feelings. And when you're in this state, I promise you're going to get a lot of inspired thoughts, because this month especially, your intuitive antenna is way up. And you have the opportunity to access the higher realms of consciousness. It's there. It is all around us. It's always tapping us on the shoulder if we want to respond. It's a time to slow down. It's a time to have patience. And other people may seem a little odd or off, and that's okay, because it is definitely the time for compassion, for forgiveness. Focus on your own inner healing. So these are the overtones. I'm going to talk a little bit more about some other aspects of it, but those are the overtones for the month. But remember, this is also just for the month. And some of what I'm saying, I believe all of what I'm saying is going to manifest one way or the other, but sometimes it's in a little bit of a diluted form. So just the essence of these numbers are definitely there for the month of October. Now, another thing to be aware of, and that's the other thing I would love for people to pay attention to, is what is going on this month, because this is going to be a little peek at the type of energy that's going to predominate in 2023, because this is a seven month, and next year the world's going to be in a 7 year. That's extremely spiritual. So let's hope and pray that we will rise to the occasion. So I want to make a really very, very important point as well. As spiritual beings, gosh, we have so much power to shift things. And the more that people get that and get in touch with their higher self, with God, with their guides and angels, the more we will be inclined to drop our defenses, the more we'll be inclined to find real ways of communication, to send out more love, not hate, to speak truth in kind ways and let go of anger. And I just want to, say that this doesn't mean that you're not sad or unhappy or disturbed by what's happening in the world. You're not immune. None of us are immune to suffering, but let's not get hooked. And when you find ways that you can bring more positive actions to this struggling world, when we do that, we can literally change the world. We can heal the world. But there has to be a tipping point when more people are on board with this, and then changes will happen rapidly. They're happening now. I mean, all of this is not for naught. It's bringing us to a higher vibration. I know we've been saying this for a long time, and people say, well, when's that going to happen? It is happening. More and more people are getting on board with this, and there are changes. There are more people gathering together in a positive way. So a little bit about the United States, which this is going to be interesting because the United States is in a 9-month, in an 8-year. So I'm not sure what kind of ending that's going to bring to the United States, but something is closing out or ending. It's also tied in with money and control. It can bring certain matters that we've been hearing about to a close. It can break alliances, but the 9 is also a very humanitarian number. So I suspect we're going to be reaching out to help more people, either groups of people, families. It's a very powerful month. And it's an invitation to let go of things in the world, well, in the United States. And of course, that also means for all of us, it's the time to let go of things that are not working well. And the month also has very strong emotional overtones. So we're going to hear a lot of noise for sure. So the astrological aspects, which, I gather a lot of this information from a few different people, but this is from Pam Gregory. And she says the next few months are a very critical time because we're going to enter into the final square of Saturn and Uranus. And according to her, this third quarter square can mean kind of a crisis in consciousness. It's the old world versus the new world. And Uranus is higher mind and awakening. And Uranus is, the energy of it is going to be felt more prominently in November. And these patterns in the darkness will need to surface. And she says, and I love this, she says, we're going through the labor pains of giving birth. And that's what it feels like. So there's going to be a lot of grassroots movements springing up. We absolutely have to stop looking to others to solve our problems. We have to gather together and do it ourselves if we want the world to change. We can't keep pointing fingers at this one or that one and saying they have to do this or they have to do that. We have to do it. So in the last quarter of the year, we can expect a lot of situations with governments and people falling from grace, falling from power. And around October 5th to the 7th, it seems like there's going to be something hidden revealed. Then October 9th, we have the full moon in Aries, but the sun will be in the sign of Libra. So it's about balance and relationships. It's also Mars is squaring Neptune, while Mercury opposes Jupiter, and both are huge astrological red flags and has to do a lot with toxins. So we might be hearing about water again, or, some issues with toxins in water, confusion, some bad decisions, unfair legal situations. And then we also have to, people have to be very careful of addictions, especially in this month coming, just check in with yourself if you're trying to escape. So around October 17th, this is also harvest time. That's the best word to use because there's something that we as a whole, or as in the United States, that we started 2.5 years ago, and whatever it was, it's now coming to fruition. You can also say it's a time when your chickens come home to roost. So I think that's pretty much wrapping it up. I just think that the most important thing to remind people is that we are going, as everyone knows, we're going through this major transition. And the best thing that we can do is gather together with people who are like-minded, to keep sending out love, not anger, not hate. I know it's challenging. Try and stay away from the news, and definitely go inward. And this month, we're coming up October. This is the month that you really, really, really want to take time alone as much as possible. Yes, you can gather with other like-minded people, but spend a lot of time alone, writing, journaling, praying, meditating, and you'll be surprised, really surprised, what illuminating information is going to come through, because again, it's a very spiritual month. So get ready. So that is pretty much the energy for 7. It's for October, and this 7-month and this 9-month, which are very powerful numbers. And let's see what happens, but stay centered. Make sure that you meditate and send your love out to everyone.
Okay, so buckle your seatbelt is what I'm hearing. So Michele, you talked about a crisis of consciousness, and let's just talk about that for just a moment, if you don't mind.
Sure.
When you said that, I was already contemplating how when we resist something, that's where the angst comes in. It's that push and pull within ourselves of being unwilling to let go of what was, to be open to what might be coming in. And to me, that's what a crisis of consciousness is that
Yes.
resistance in wanting everything to just stay the same way.
That is so right on the money, Ruth, because one of the things I also did want to add too, and it's just exactly in alignment with what you're saying, we want things to stay the same, even when, unfortunately, there is this odd security in insecurity. And what I mean by that is, even if we've been in a really insecure place, or if someone's in an abusive relationship, even, it's what you know. And the fear, there is this underlying or subconscious fear that operates at saying, the devil you know is better than the devil you don't know. It's all of those things. So even though we want change, we want to be able to write that script and hand it to the universe and say, okay, you see this?
Right.
This is how I want it to go. And the universe is saying, you've got to have some trust. And I think what Pam Gregory said about labor pains, oh my God, that's so appropriate. We're going through the pains or this crisis in consciousness in order to bring us to a higher vibration. And when we do, things are going to flow much easier. More people will be gathering together, there'll be more love. There'll be just a whole different energy to the world. Now, is that going to come next month or next year? Okay. Why am I speechless? I think we're moving towards that. And I think it'll be more apparent as the next year progresses. As I said, I'm really anxious to look into the energies for next year, because it is a very strongly aspected spiritual number for the world. So I think it's going to be a time for sure, and we're going through this crisis of consciousness, where more people are going to say, okay, I can't depend on this government or this person or this thing. to do it for me. I have to do it myself. We have to gather together. That's really important. The people have the power, but we don't have to do it in an aggressive way at all. We can do it in small groups, in bigger groups, in a positive way. And that's what I think is really important for us to understand and to get. So where do you start? You start at the beginning. You start with small groups gathering together. What would you like to see differently in the world? Okay, well then how can you do that? We have to put we have to gather together. We have to put our heads together. We have to come up with ideas and inspiration in a loving way. So, yeah, I'm glad that you had mentioned that about the fear of change, because that's a big one. So we can't fight against it.
You know, Michelle, I'm reminded of the I guess you'd call it a parable, but seeing yourself as a willow tree that can bend and, you know, have some flexibility to you, rather than the sturdy oak that doesn't budge. I think it's those that are choosing to not budge right now
Right,
that are going to be
right.
having the hardest time with the end of the year, and maybe next year as well.
Yeah. Be like I think that's a proverb too,
Yes. Yeah. Yeah.
right? Be like the willow or the bamboo,
I think
willow or bamboo. Yeah, just be able to flow and bend, but don't resist. That doesn't mean you tolerate intolerable things, you know? I always want to make that point too. It doesn't mean being a doormat. None of that does. It just means unhooking yourselves from the despair and the anger, and just being in a state of observation. You're not a doormat. You're not going to tolerate intolerable situations, but you're not going to fight against it. You're going to put something positive in there to replace that, if that makes sense at all, you know?
Yep, it does. It
Mm.
does. And for me, on a spiritual level, what that refers to is, you know, you can go through life and think you know who you are.
Oh,
I'm a mother, and in my being a mother, this is how I treat my children. Or I'm a good community member, and in that role, this is what that looks like. But sometimes when it's time for your own personal transformation, things shift, and you need to be, I find for me, I need to be open to considering, oh, well, that's how I used to do that. And now for me, being a loving mother looks like this.
oh,
Or for me, my spiritual walk now is going to look like this. I think just that flexibility of being willing to let go of who you thought you were, to
right.
being open to who you can become.
Oh, that's beautiful. Oh gosh, Ruth, yes, because that brings up other things. We, as conscious, because I believe we're all spiritual beings. So I always want to be careful the way I say things, because I do believe we're all spiritual beings, but some are more conscious of that spiritual piece of ourselves. Some aren't, and that's okay. You know, we're not here to judge. But even the way we do that, you know, we can be so rooted in some of our spiritual beliefs that we're afraid to try something different. Or some people get hooked on spirituality in this way. Let me explain. Like, I must do yoga X times a week. I must meditate for 25 minutes, anything that's rigid, too rigid. Or I must have my Birkenstocks, or I must have, you know, any of those things that you think make you more spiritual. Well, guess what? If you're addicted to that, it's still an addiction. It doesn't, it's too much of anything. If you're meditating to escape from the world, personal opinion, I don't think that works. Okay. If you're using it as an escape, then that's just as, it sets up just as much of an obstacle as you're not wanting to meditate at all. Whatever you're too strongly attached to is going to boomerang or backfire on you. So I would also encourage people to look at what their spiritual beliefs are, and is there room for something different? Is there room to explore or listen to somebody else's point of view? And I was just having a discussion with someone about that today. So you can be just as addicted to spiritual practices or beliefs as you could to anything else. So another great point, though, that you brought up. So thank you.
No, thank you. So, friends, if you aren't familiar with Michele Landers, please check her out on Facebook. And she's got a website, and she is an author. She's got several books out there, but one of them is The Tao of Numbers. And Michele also does individual sessions with folks.
Yes.
So please check her out. Michele, what is the best way for them to find you?
My name, Michele with one L, MicheleLanders.com. And I'm happy to do a free 15 or even 20-minute free consult if somebody just wants to, find out more about what is this all about, or chit chat, they have an issue. I'm happy to do that. So that's how they can get in touch with me.
And I can tell you, friends, from my own personal experiences,
Oh,
having Michele's information about your numbers and sort of how they might play themselves out has actually been so invaluable. I have gone back and looked at that information over and over as life throws, a curveball here and there. And when you go back and you look at those numbers, you can go, yeah, I can see that. And
thank you. Thank
yeah,
you.
and I think
Yeah.
when you can see that, you realize, oh, I'm not a victim of this, and
Mhm.
I can figure out how to work through this. So it's just
Yeah.
really helpful. So please do check out Michele Landers. So,
Thank you so much.
yeah. So, Michele, thank you. Thank you for this October forecast. We look forward to getting through October
Oh,
with less resistance than we might have gone into it. And
uh,
we'll look forward to our time together in November.
November. I think November will be louder. Let's put it that way. So we'll see how that's going to play out. Thank you again, Ruth. Thank you for everything that you do and for Enlightened World Network.
Thank you. So, friends, thank you for being here. Take good care. God bless, and we'll see you soon. Bye now.
Bye.